Gendry had never trusted red women, especially not Melisandre. Something about her eyes, too calm, too knowing, always made his skin crawl. But he didn't expect to be dragged from Storm's End like a prisoner. One moment he was working at the forge, hammering out a sword. The next, Ser Davos was gone, and he was chained below a ship heading north. Melisandre watched him like a spider waiting to strike. She didn't smile much, but when she did, it was never a good sign. Gendry had heard whispers. Something about his blood. Something about being Robert Baratheon's bastard. But he was no lord, just a blacksmith. Just a boy with no family and no place. And then there was Arya. They hadn't seen each other in a long time, not since the Brotherhood without banners had handed Gendry over to Melisandre. Arya had fought back then, yelling and spitting like a wildcat. But she was only a girl, and Thoros and Beric were too focused on their god to care about her feelings. Gendry had thought that would be the last time he saw her. He was wrong. Arya had changed. When she found out Gendry was taken to Dragonstone, something inside her snapped. She had trained with the Faceless Men, learned to kill in silence, to vanish like a shadow. But Gendry wasn't just another face. He was her friend. He had cared for her when she was nothing but a lost girl, pretending to be a boy. So she followed the trail. It led her to Dragonstone, dark, cold, and full of whispers. Arya didn't care about politics or kings or queens. She didn't care about the war between the living and the dead. All she cared about was getting Gendry back before it was too late. Inside the chambers of Dragonstone, Melisandre was preparing the ritual. She said Gendry's king's blood would help defeat the Night King. She spoke of fire and light and the Lord of Light's will. Stannis, tired and broken, agreed. He had lost too much. His pride, his family. He was willing to sacrifice anything if it meant victory. Gendry was tied to a stone slab, shirtless, his arms stretched wide. The Red Woman stood above him with her blade. Flames danced in her eyes. Then the door creaked. In walked Arya, dressed in dark leather, face unreadable. Her sword, needle, was in her hand. "I won't let you kill him," she said, voice cold as the winds of the north. Melisandre turned slowly. She remembered the girl. "You again," she said, not surprised. "This is not your place." Arya stepped closer. "You took him once. I didn't stop you then. I was weak. But not now." Stannis raised his hand to stop the guards. "Who is she?" "She's no one," Melisandre said. "Just a girl with many faces." Arya didn't flinch. "He's not your sacrifice. You want to play with fire. Burn yourself." The guards moved, but before they could reach her, Arya vanished. A blink, a gust of wind, and one of them was already on the ground, blood pooling under him. The other hesitated, too long. Needles slid through his throat. Now it was just Arya, Gendry, Melisandre, and Stannis. Melisandre backed away. "The Lord of Light needs him." Arya moved to Gendry's side, cutting the ropes quickly. "Then tell your guard to come take him himself." Gendry groaned as he sat up. His arms were bruised, wrists bleeding. "Arya?" She helped him down. "I'm here." Stannis looked between them, jaw clenched. "You're making a mistake." Arya glared at him. "No, I'm fixing one." They didn't wait. Arya took Gendry's arm and led him out through the side passage she had found the night before. The castle echoed with shouting behind them, but Arya knew the shadows. She knew how to move. They reached the shore where a small boat waited. "You came for me," Gendry said, voice thick with disbelief. Arya looked away, eyes cold. "I owed you." "You didn't," she paused. "Maybe I didn't, but I wanted to," he smiled. For the first time in days, hope touched his face, but Arya's face didn't soften. She looked back at the castle. "I've made enemies now," she whispered, and somewhere deep in Dragonstone the flames flickered, and Melisandre whispered a name into the fire. Arya Stark. The sea was cruel that night. Waves slapped hard against the little boat Arya had stolen, and the wind howled like the ghosts of those who had died at Dragonstone. Gendry was weak, shivering beside her, barely able to hold the oar in his blistered hands. His chest was still marked with shallow cuts from the ritual, and his lips were pale. Arya rowed. She didn't look back. Not once. She didn't care if the Red Woman was summoning fire demons or if Stannis sent a whole army after them. They wouldn't catch her. Not tonight. The old gods were with her. Or maybe no gods at all, just her own fury. Hours passed before they reached the rocky shore of Blackwater Bay. Gendry collapsed into the sand, face first, coughing up seawater. Arya dropped beside him, her muscles burning, her fingers numb. They lay there in silence, just breathing. After a while, Gendry said quietly, "Why did you come back?" Arya didn't answer right away. Her eyes were on the stars. "I used to think I was nobody," she said. "They trained me to be that." A girl with no name, no attachments, no weakness. He turned his head slightly toward her. "And then I saw your face in the firelight, tied up, bleeding, afraid." She paused. "And I remembered who I am." He blinked slowly. "Who are you?" She looked down at him, voice steady. "Arya Stark of Winterfell. And no one hurts the people I care about." His eyes softened. He wanted to say something, maybe thank her, maybe apologize for all the time lost, but his body gave up. He passed out before the words could form. Arya sat by him through the night, blade in her lap, watching the darkness. The memory of Melisandre's face haunted her, that calm smile, that empty promise of righteousness. Like killing Gendry was holy, like burning people made her closer to some invisible god. Arya didn't believe in gods anymore. Not the old, not the new, and definitely not red ones. By morning they were already moving inland. Arya had found a village boy's clothes for Gendry and a stolen horse from a nearby pasture. She didn't ask for permission. She didn't care, but something was wrong. At first it was just a feeling, like the hairs on her neck wouldn't settle. Then it became a shadow in the trees, the way birds went silent when they walked by. The sound of footfalls that weren't theirs. They were being followed. Arya acted like she didn't notice. Gendry was too tired to fight, and she couldn't risk panicking him. But her hand stayed near her blade at all times. She led them through crooked paths, doubling back, circling trees, listening. 2 days later she caught him, a raven-haired boy, thin, fast, and dressed in black leathers. He wasn't from the north or the Riverlands. No, his face was too still, too smooth, a faceless man. She ambushed him near a stream, her blade at his throat before he even turned. "Who sent you?" she growled. He smiled with his eyes. "The many-faced god has debts to collect. I'm not part of that world anymore," she hissed. "But you were," he said calmly. "You took their faces. You swore their oaths. You don't just walk away from death." Arya pressed her blade harder. "Try me." But he didn't flinch. "You killed a king's chosen. You interfered with divine fire. The Red Woman has seen your name in the flames. You are marked." Arya's heart thudded. "So what now? You kill me?" He looked past her at Gendry, crouched near the stream, trying to boil water in a cracked tin cup. "I don't kill you," the faceless man said softly. "But I warn you. The world moves toward war, and you stand in its center. The girl who saved a bastard from fire will burn something greater." Arya frowned. "I don't believe in prophecies," he chuckled. "You don't have to believe them for them to be true." Before she could strike, he was gone, melted into the trees like smoke. No trace, no sound. She didn't tell Gendry. They kept moving. North now. Toward Winterfell. She didn't say why. Maybe she just needed to see home again. Maybe she thought her sister Sansa would know what to do. Or Jon Snow, or someone, anyone. But the closer they got, the heavier the air became. Fires burned in the distance, villages razed by Lannister scouts or deserters from the Reach, bodies hung from trees. Wolves howled like they were mourning something too big to name, and in Arya's dreams, Melisandre's voice echoed, "You may have saved him from fire, girl, but you cannot save him from fate." One night Arya awoke to find Gendry sweating and trembling. His skin burned with fever, and strange red lines crawled up his arm from the cuts Melisandre had made. "Gendry." She shook him. He muttered something, words that made no sense. Names that weren't his. Arya didn't know what to do. She wiped his head with wet cloth, crushed herbs she barely recognized, tried every trick the road had taught her, but he only got worse. And then, one night his eyes opened, glowing faintly gold. He grabbed her wrist, tighter than he ever had, and whispered in a voice that was not his, The Lord of Light has tasted me. Arya froze. Gendry's grip was strong, too strong for someone so sick, and his eyes, they weren't his eyes anymore. They glowed like hot coals, pulsing with something that didn't belong in this world. His voice, deep and echoing, didn't sound human. It was like something was speaking through him. She yanked her hand free, stumbling back. "Gendry?" But he didn't blink. He didn't move. "The fire touched me," he said in that twisted voice. "She lit the flame. You stole me from the altar. But the god is not done." Arya felt the forest press in around them. The trees seemed taller. The shadows stretched longer. Even the wind had stopped. "Gendry, it's me," she said softly, like talking to a child. "You're sick. That's all. You're burning up." He blinked, and the light in his eyes flickered. Just for a second. He groaned and collapsed, like something inside him had loosened its grip. His breathing returned, shaky and harsh. Arya dropped beside him, holding his face. "You're okay," she whispered, even though she didn't believe it. She didn't sleep that night. She sat by the fire, watching him, waiting. She kept Needle across her knees and didn't dare close her eyes. Something had come back with them. Something Melisandre had started. And now it was inside Gendry. By morning his fever was lower, but he looked worse, pale, hollow-eyed and quiet. When he finally spoke, his voice was his own, but barely. "I dreamed I was drowning," he whispered. "In fire." Arya didn't answer. She just helped him to his feet and packed their things. They rode north in silence, the road narrowing into cold stone paths. A week passed. The weather turned colder. The land grew wilder. But Gendry was changing. He didn't eat much anymore. He barely slept. At night, Arya sometimes caught him staring at the flames, like they were whispering to him. And his skin, it had strange marks now, like veins of red, glowing faintly under the surface. They pulsed when he was angry, when he was scared, or when she touched him. One night they passed through a ruined village. Bodies lay frozen in the snow, faces twisted in fear. There were no banners, no signs of who did it. Just ash and blood. They found shelter in a half-burnt stable. Arya lit a small fire, using dry hay and broken wood. Gendry sat opposite her, shivering under a torn cloak. Then he looked up. "They're following me," he said. Arya raised an eyebrow. "Who?" "Not people. Not soldiers." He hesitated. "Things." Arya leaned forward. "You're not making sense. They're not alive. Not dead either." He tapped his chest. "They want what's inside me." Arya felt a cold chill crawl up her spine. "What did she do to you?" Gendry shook his head. "She didn't finish the ritual. But the fire god, he saw me, tasted my blood, and now I think I'm something else." Arya didn't know what to say. She had killed men, monsters, even whites. But this was something different. Something in between. "You're still Gendry," she said firmly. "Whatever's happening, we'll fix it. We'll find someone who can—" "No one can fix this," he interrupted, eyes wide. "This is bigger than me. Bigger than you." Arya stood and threw her cloak over him. "Sleep. We'll talk in the morning." But Gendry didn't sleep. He stared at the fire, and when Arya dozed off for just a few minutes, she woke up to find him gone. Panic exploded in her chest. She grabbed her sword and rushed out into the snow. "Gendry!" No answer. She ran past broken homes and burned carts, calling his name. Then she saw the light, a flicker, orange and alive, glowing in the woods. She followed it, heart-pounding, boots crunching through snow and ice, and there he was. Gendry stood in the middle of a clearing, shirtless, surrounded by small flames that floated in the air like fireflies. His eyes glowed again. His veins pulsed. Arya stepped forward. "Gendry!" He didn't move. "I can feel it now," he said quietly. "The heat, the pull. It wants me to burn." Arya stepped closer. "Then don't let it fight it. You're stronger than this." He turned to her. "I don't know if I want to." She froze. "What?" "I feel powerful. Like I matter, like I'm more than a bastard with a hammer. This god, this flame, it chose me." Arya's throat tightened. "It didn't choose you. It tried to kill you. And you stopped it," he whispered. "But maybe you shouldn't have." The fire around him flared suddenly. Arya shielded her eyes, then the flames vanished, just like that. Gendry collapsed. Arya ran to him, pulling him into her arms. He was shaking, whispering something over and over. "I don't want to burn. I don't want to burn." She held him tight. "You won't. I've got you. But—" Her heart knew something she didn't say out. Loud, he was burning, from the inside out, and she had no idea how to. "Stop it!" Arya didn't take her eyes off him the next day. Not even for a moment. Gendry barely spoke. He walked beside her like a shadow, eyes unfocused, as if part of him wasn't really there. His skin looked paler, but the red lines beneath it were darker now, thicker, glowing slightly even in daylight. Arya wrapped her scarf tighter around her neck, trying to block out the cold wind. But it wasn't the cold that made her shiver. It was the feeling that something was watching them. They passed through empty lands, no soldiers, no people, not even crows in the sky. It felt like they were walking through a forgotten world. On the 5th day, they found an old hunter's lodge near the edge of the Wolfswood. Arya had passed it once as a child, riding with her brothers. She remembered Bran falling off his horse and Robb laughing while Jon helped him up. That memory stung. Inside, the place was dusty and filled with cobwebs, but it would do. She started a fire while Gendry sat against the wall, breathing hard. He looked exhausted. "Your chest," she said, kneeling beside him. "Let me see it." He pulled his tunic up slowly. Her heart sank. The veins had spread, red like hot iron, pulsing slowly up his ribs and toward his neck. They glowed faintly, like something under his skin was alive. Like fire trapped beneath flesh, Arya touched the edge of one vein just lightly. He gasped, flinching. "It burns. All the time now." She pulled her hand back. "Why didn't you tell me it got worse?" He gave a hollow laugh. "What difference would it make?" Arya didn't answer. She got up and turned away. She hated this feeling, the helplessness. The silence between them used to be comfortable. Now it was heavy, scared. That night, she woke to the smell of smoke, not from the fireplace, from Gendry. He was standing near the window, shirtless again, steam rising from his skin like he was boiling inside. His hands were clenched. His eyes flickered gold-red, reflecting the firelight. "I can feel him," he whispered. Arya sat up. "Who? The fire god?" "Law. He speaks in heat, in pain. And he's close." Arya grabbed her sword. "You're not going to him." "I'm not trying to," he said, trembling. "But I don't think I have a choice." Then he screamed. It was sudden, raw, and violent. He dropped to the floor, twisting in agony. The red veins glowed bright, lighting the room like lightning. His back arched. His fingers dug into the floorboards. Arya rushed to him, heart racing. "Gendry!" He was burning up, literally. Steam hissed from his skin. His lips were bleeding. He was mumbling strange words in a language she didn't recognize. She didn't know what to do. She wrapped her arms around him, trying to keep him still. "Breathe. You're with me. You're not alone." He grabbed her arm, eyes wide and glowing. "He wants blood," he whispered. "Your blood." Arya went still. "What?" But his eyes closed again. His body went limp. She stayed there, holding him until dawn. By the next day, Arya knew what she had to do. They couldn't run anymore. The fire was inside him, growing, feeding. It would take him. Maybe it would use him. Maybe it would spread to others. She had seen what wildfire could do. This was worse, so she did something she hadn't done in a long time. She whispered a prayer, not to the old gods, not to the new, but to any that would listen. She took them north, deeper into the forest, toward the old weirwood tree she remembered as a child, the one with the carved face, red eyes bleeding sap. She had once hidden there during a game of hide-and-seek. Now she was coming back for something more serious. As they walked, Gendry spoke less and less. Sometimes he stopped entirely and just stared at the sky, but when they reached the tree, he cried. "I know this place," he whispered. "From my dreams." Arya looked at him. "You've never been here." "I have," he said. "Or maybe the thing inside me has." She didn't speak. Instead, she pulled a dagger from her belt. It was dragonglass. A gift from Jon, black and sharp and meant for the dead. "Sit," she told him. Gendry didn't argue. He dropped to his knees before the weirwood tree. His breath was shaking. "You're going to kill me?" he asked softly. "I should," she admitted. "Before you lose yourself." He didn't flinch. "Maybe that's mercy." She stepped closer, but her hands didn't move. The dagger hung uselessly at her side. "I can't," she whispered. He looked up at her. Then it'll spread. She fell to her knees in front of him. Then we'll stop it. Together. Gendry closed his eyes. You don't understand. He's already here. Arya frowned. What? The ground shook. The fire in Gendry's chest blazed outward, not with heat but with light. It cracked through the air like lightning. The weirwood tree groaned, and behind them the shadows gathered. A figure stepped out of the woods, cloaked in red, eyes glowing faintly. Melisandre, Arya's heart filled with rage. You. Melisandre didn't raise a hand in defense. She walked slowly, her face calm. I didn't come to fight, she said. I came to finish what was started. Arya pointed her blade. You're not touching him. Melisandre looked at Gendry, who was trembling, glowing, breaking. You don't understand, child, she said quietly. He's not a boy anymore. He's a vessel. Arya stepped between them. He's not yours. Melisandre's eyes narrowed. Then watch the world burn for your pride. The air around the weirwood burned with silence. Melisandre stood still, her red cloak fluttering in the cold wind. Yet her eyes were full of heat, not rage but purpose. Her face was calm, too calm for Arya's liking. It was the same calm she wore when she tried to kill Gendry. The same calm when she burned people in the name of her god. Arya had seen killers. She had been one, but this woman scared her in a different way, because Melisandre believed what she said. Every word. Gendry was on his knees, groaning. His body pulsed with fire beneath his skin. Light flickered in his chest like a second heart made of flame. He didn't even look human anymore, not entirely. You made him like this, Arya spat. You turned him into a weapon, Melisandre nodded. Yes, a weapon meant to strike darkness, a gift. But you pulled him from the altar before the fire could be tamed. Now it's wild inside him, dangerous, consuming. Arya didn't lower her blade. Then help him, fix it. You said you came to finish what was started. Melisandre stepped closer. I can end the fire before it devours him, but you will not like what it costs. Arya narrowed her eyes. Say it, the red woman pointed to Gendry. His body is too far gone, but his soul, his strength, can still serve a purpose. He must become what he was meant to be. And what's that? Melisandre's voice was almost a whisper. A flame of vengeance. A fire to lead us against the long night. He will no longer be... Gendry. Arya shook her head. No, he's still in there. Melisandre sighed. You love him. Arya looked down at him. He's my friend. That is not the word you mean. Arya didn't reply. She didn't need to. She turned to Gendry, crouching beside him. Can you hear me? He nodded weakly. I'm still me. But it's hard. It's loud inside, hot. She touched his cheek. I won't let her take you. I won't lose you. He looked at her, eyes full of pain. Maybe you already have. The fire inside him flared again, red and orange light bursting from his skin in glowing cracks. The weirwood tree groaned behind them, and steam hissed from the snow as it melted beneath him. Melisandre began chanting in High Valyrian, raising her hands to the sky. Arya stood, pointing needle at her throat. Stop! Melisandre didn't even blink. This is beyond you, child. Arya's voice cracked. He's not a god's tool. He's not yours. He's not yours either, Melisandre snapped. You think your blade can protect him from what he is? You think love will hold back fire? Arya stepped forward. I don't care what he is. He's not dying tonight. Melisandre lowered her hands. Then something strange happened. Gendry stood up slowly, shakily. His eyes glowed golden like a forge. His breath came out in huffs of steam. And for a moment it wasn't pain on his face. It was peace. I remember, he said softly. Arya stared. Remember what? He looked at her, then Melisandre. The flame. It showed me death. Not just mine, others, cities burning, armies falling, ice swallowing everything. I saw Winterfell buried in snow. I saw you, Arya, fighting shadows with no face. And I saw me... Standing in fire alone, Melisandre stepped closer, her voice full of awe. The visions have begun. The fire accepts you. Gendry looked down at his hands, veins glowing like molten steel. But I don't want this. Melisandre's voice hardened. It doesn't matter what you want. You were chosen. Your blood, your pain, it all leads to this. Arya stepped beside him. Then unchoose him! Melisandre's face changed. For the first time, Her eyes flickered with doubt. If we stop it now, the flame may seek another vessel, a crueler one. You don't understand what's coming. The dead are only the beginning. I don't care, Arya growled. If the cost of saving the world is burning him alive, then let it fall. The wind howled between the trees, as if the gods themselves had heard her. Gendry placed a hand on her shoulder. Arya! She turned to him. He was crying, but his tears turned to steam on his cheeks. If there's a way to live, I want it, but if this is what I am now, I need to know I'm not alone in it. You're not, she said, stepping closer. He touched her cheek. His hand was hot, but she didn't flinch. I'll fight it, he whispered. But I need you with me. You always had me, she whispered back. Then suddenly the fire dimmed. The red veins faded slightly. His glow softened. Even Melisandre looked surprised. It listens to you, she said in awe. The flame bends around your will, Arya glared at her. Then teach him how to control it. No more rituals, no more sacrifices. Just teach. Melisandre nodded slowly. I can guide him, but it will take time. And strength? If he loses control, the fire could destroy entire villages. Arya didn't blink. Then we make damn sure he never loses it. The three of them stood in the silent woods. A killer, a red priestess, and a boy made of fire. And in the shadows behind the trees, something was watching. Not a man, not a woman, but ice, cold, patient. Creeping south with every breath Gendry took. The fire inside him was strong, but winter was coming for all of them. They headed north, not to escape, but to prepare. Melisandre warned them, if Gendry's fire wasn't trained, it would burn everything he loved. If they waited too long, it would no longer be his choice. And worse, the White Walkers had begun moving faster than expected. Their silence meant nothing. Death did not need to shout. Arya had never walked toward a war like this, not as a soldier, not as a Stark, but as someone trying to save just one life while the whole world collapsed around her. The closer they got to Winterfell, the colder Gendry became, not in temperature. No, his body stayed hot, pulsing with heat like a forge that never cooled. But his face changed. His voice grew distant. At night, when he stared into the fire, Arya could see it. Something else was watching through his eyes. He wasn't possessed. Not exactly, but he wasn't fully alone anymore either. One night, just outside the last hearth, they stopped at a ruined watchtower to rest. The stones were cracked, and the woods smelled of old blood. The White Walkers had passed through here. The signs were everywhere. Frozen corpses, horses turned to ice, a baby clutched in its mother's arms like a statue made of sorrow. Arya buried them herself. Not for the dead, for herself, to remind her what they were fighting for. That night, Melisandre asked a question that shook Arya to her bones. What will you do if he becomes one of them? Arya looked up sharply. And he won't. But if he does, Melisandre said softly, will you kill him or join him? Arya's hands clenched. No, I'll pull him back. Melisandre shook her head. Some fires can't be undone, girl. Arya said nothing. But inside, she knew the question wasn't going away. By the time they reached Winterfell, the banners were torn, the gates cracked, and the snow came down in thick grey sheets. It was empty, not a soul. Arya rushed through the halls like a ghost in her own memory, calling for Sansa, for Jon, for anyone, but only the cold answered her. Then she saw it, a trail of footprints. Leading to the Godswood, Arya ran. Behind her, Melisandre called out, "Wait!" But she didn't listen. The moment Arya entered the Godswood, her breath caught. They were waiting, not just White Walkers, but the Night King himself, tall, pale, crowned in frozen horns. He stood by the weirwood tree, as if it were his throne. Dozens of his dead surrounded him like statues. Their eyes glowed ice blue. Their bodies were still, silent, and beside him was Sansa, frozen, alive, but not living. Her body didn't move, but her eyes blinked. Slowly, trapped, cursed. Arya gasped. No. The Night King turned to her. He didn't speak. He never did, but she heard him in her head, one flame, one soul. An offering, Then Gendry stepped beside her. She hadn't heard him come in. His skin was steaming again, his eyes flickering gold, his body pulsing like a living torch. The snow melted beneath his feet, and yet he looked calm. "He wants me," Gendry said. "He wants to feed on the flame." Arya reached for her blade. "Then we fight." "No," he whispered. "That's not how we win." She frowned. "What do you mean?" Gendry turned to her, smiling, not like a man who was giving up, but like a man who understood something no one else did. "I finally know what the fire is for." She shook her head. "Don't you dare!" But he placed his hand on her cheek, warm and trembling. "You saved me once. You gave me a choice. I'm giving you one now." She grabbed his wrist. "We fight this together." "There's no together if he wins," Gendry said, eyes wet. "But if I burn for something real, if I burn for you—" "No!" she snapped. "I didn't come all this way to lose you. You never lost me," he whispered. "I found myself in you." Then he turned to the Night King and walked forward. Arya screamed his name, but Melisandre stepped behind her, whispering, "Let the fire walk into the cold." And Gendry did. He raised both hands, and flames erupted from him like a sun exploding. The White Walkers turned to ash. Ice cracked. Snow boiled. And the Night King reached out. Too late. The fire swallowed them both. Arya watched the man she loved disappear in light. She ran to the weirwood as the world cracked around her, and when it all stopped, there was only smoke, ash, silence. The god's wood was burning, but slowly dying down. Sansa gasped, collapsing to her knees, color returning to her face. Arya caught her before she fell. "He saved us," Arya whispered. Sansa nodded. "He saved everyone." They buried what remained of him in the snow beneath the old tree. No body, just the warm mark of his flame. Melisandre left the same night. She said nothing. Her purpose was fulfilled. Arya stayed for days, weeks, until spring began to whisper its way through the snow. And on one quiet morning, she found something buried beneath the ashes of the godswood. A hammer, his hammer, still warm. She didn't cry. Not that day. Instead, she picked it up, carried it into the blacksmith's forge, and lit the fire again, for him, for all of them.